Hi everybody, this is Willie at newandlostcrafts.com, and I've done this before and kind of kicked myself as to why I wasn't filming it, but so I'm doing it again, and we're repairing a toilet, and I'm showing you the back end of one of our toilets in our house. And basically, I've done a couple of things, or we need to do a couple things. One I did already was I replaced this lever, pretty easy replacement. But upon doing that, you get back in here and you can see, there's some sediment down there that would be nice to clean up. The flapper valve seems to be working okay, but let's clean it up a little bit. And then I'm not happy with the way that the water valve, which is this guy, is working. It doesn't, if you're not familiar with how this stuff works, this is what turns the water on and off. You can kind of hear it. Okay, so if it's down, the water runs, and if it's up, which this is hollow, so it floats, and that's what turns the water off. It's kind of sticky. It's been in there for a while, so that's what I'm going to replace. And I have a newfangled version that's supposed to work a little bit better. But in the process, I'm going to try to clean this stuff up. So the first thing we're going to do is, if we take a look underneath here, here's our water valve, and we're just going to turn that guy off. And he's kind of stuck. My goodness. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a bigger project. Alright, we got it now. Okay, so that's off. Let's check with the valve up here. Yeah, so we don't have any more flow. Then we're going to go ahead and flush. Get rid of as much of the water as we can. And then our next challenge is that there's about, 3/4 of an inch of water in the bottom there, along with a bunch of dirt that we kind of want to take care of while we're in there. So I'm going to do that. Basically, I think the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to go ahead and undo the valve, or the fitting here, and put a bucket underneath, and hopefully that'll drain most of the water out. I think that'll be the easiest approach, so let's see how it goes. Okay, so I have the primary water connection undone here. We have a bucket, and just some advice to folks that haven't done this before: make sure you have a towel or two around. You're going to need it regardless of how careful you are, so have a towel underneath there also. Now, when I undid the water here, there wasn't much, to leak by, and you're not done yet, because what's going to happen is when we take the fastener off the bottom of the old valve, it's going to open up the bottom of that tank and then really drain into this bucket. So I'll show that next. I guess before I do that, let's get a shot of underneath where I just took this fitting off, and there's another fitting that will unscrew so we can get that valve out of there. Okay, so this one has a fairly good seal to it. So I'm going to lift this valve up. You'll see it start to drain. Catch as much of this water as you can. This really can make a big mess if you're not used to it. And you make a big mess even if you are used to it. Okay, now the valve is free in here, I'm going to have to set it loose of the little cord attached to the flapper. Let's do that. Okay, so here's the old valve. We'll get it and yank it all out. And we may want to scavenge some parts off this old guy, including this hose, depending on how long the new one is. So don't throw this away quite yet. Just keep a hold of it. You know, a good place is the kitchen sink while you're working on it, and let's install the new one. Okay, so backing off just a bit before we install the new valve. So this is what the bottom of the tank looks like right now, and I mentioned it's a great time to go ahead and clean this up. And I just have a piece of paper towel here, and I'm not really interested in mopping it all up, but I just want to get it all loose. And then what we'll do is just take a standard, like drinking glass with some water in it, and dump it in here and see if we can't maybe find big chunks of ceramic from like the toilet lid or whatever. Get rid of those, but just try to loosen everything up, and then we're going to use just water to flush it down a bit. So get everything loosened up there. I know, pretty gross, but it's not, poop or anything. It's just sediment. All right, now this might be a little tough because I need to pay attention to what's going on. But see how that really cleans it up pretty nicely. And then you want to make sure your bucket's in place. That's the thing I was concerned about here, is that it looks like we're pretty good though with the towel underneath there. Let's do that a couple more times. Don't get crazy over this. It's not that big a deal. But take the opportunity. Makes it look a lot nicer. And maybe a couple more times. Okay. That's good enough for me. Now, another thing that we want to check after we do all this stuff, a lot of times you'll be replacing this flapper. We're not doing that today, but a lot of the replacement kits come with a new flapper. This particular toilet has a bigger flapper for some reason, and it's working just fine, so we're not going to worry about that today. It's the valve that is a problem, because we're not leaking or anything. So we're good and clean. Make sure the whole, just run your finger through there, is clean of debris, and we're going to install the new valve now. Okay, so we're trying, for me, a new type of toilet valve. It's corky, and it's called a quiet fill. Haven't used this one yet, but it was a good price. It was like $10, and this is what it looks like. A little bit less mechanical stuff going on, which is why I kind of liked it. So let's see how it works. I already installed this tube, which we may have to replace with a slightly longer one from the old unit. And then with every installation like this, it's kind of tough because every installation is a little bit different. So, number one thing, it already has the valve down here, and so all we need to do is push that into the hole, and then use the new fittings to seal it up on the bottom side. So let me get it all set up, and that's what I'll show you next. Okay, so we have the new valve out here, and this is what is going to attach it to the toilet tank. And pay close attention. This Might be hard to read on my camera, but it says this side up. And that's important because what it's going to allow is that bottom portion of the gasket down here to come through the tank and seal properly. So we're going to stick this guy in the back end of the toilet through our hole, okay, and then attach the bottom of it from the other side with this nut with this side up. Okay, so there's the new unit in there. I have not attached it yet because there's a few things that I wanted to point out. First, this new tube, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is not going to be long enough to drain into our overflow pipe. So I'm going to replace it with the old one, so that's a good reason to keep a hold of those things. And then it's maybe a little hard to see, but these valves are adjustable in height, and if I pull this guy out real quick, there's a sign that says water level there, and I can already tell it's a little bit too low for this application, because the water level, you can tell by the stains, is more about here. So I'm going to raise the height of it a little bit, which is really easy to do. Really, we're just going to twist the bottom of this and expand it a little bit. It's hard to explain with just two hands here, but it's really very easy. So I'm going to expand it about 2 to 3 notches and see where we're at. Okay, so I adjusted the height of this guy, as I mentioned in the last clip, and then attached the hose, the overflow hose, because it's a little bit longer on the old one, to our drain pipe. And that just allows it to drain into the toilet so you don't get a massive overflow in your restroom. So make sure you do that. I think I have the height set about correctly. We'll see how it goes. If we have to adjust it a little bit, then we'll have to adjust it a little bit, but I think it's a good guess. So I'm going to go ahead and take our washer from that I showed before. Again, it goes installed like this, and go ahead and install that. Now, here's a point of contention that a lot of people might get after me about. These new kits do come with new fittings for the bottom end of the pipe. I've never really bothered to replace them unless I had a leak. So this one looks like it's in good shape. These things are typically all the same size, so if this is in good shape, it's kind of a pain to replace, to be honest. So that's why I don't do it, especially if I'm not having issues with it. But you have it if you need it. So just my little tip. Okay, so hopefully you can see this here. That plastic nut is installed, and it's just finger tight, and don't go crazy with these things, you can break them. And now we're going to go ahead and install the water again. And so keep your bucket and your towel around, make sure your fittings are good, but we're going to install the water, and we're going to turn the water back on and make sure that we have a good tight seal. Okay, so the water is reattached. We turned it back on, and what we want to be doing is watching for leaks at this point. The tank is refilling, and we want to watch what happens here when it gets kind of to the full level. So we want the valve to turn off just slightly before it hits the overflow level, so let's see how we did. And if that doesn't happen, then we'll just have to recalibrate. Ooh. I can't believe it. It looks like it's perfect. So, wow. That rarely happens. I usually have to adjust this a couple times, but I made a really good guess there. So that's it, you guys. The last thing I have to do is just install the flushing chain. Sorry, much harder to do with one hand than you would think. Okay. Now the key to this is that you want to make sure the flapper drops and the chain is a little loose, but not so loose that when you flip the handle it can't open nice. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is Willie at newandlostcrafts.com, and if you have any questions, please post them on the forum or on the YouTube video, and I'll answer them. Thanks a lot.